All right, everybody, welcome. We are today, I'm on the wrong screen. We are today going to be looking at 1.7. We're skipping 1.5 and 1.6. We're going to do 1.7, one of the last two sections from chapter 1 before we're kind of finished with our first section. This is called Represent Functions as Rules and Tables. And one thing that might pop up to you right away is what the heck is a function, right? Because we've never really, you might have maybe talked about it a little bit in your eighth grade classroom. So you may not know what a function is. So we're going to split this into two parts, right? You can see this is part one, because we have some kind of dense vocabulary that we're going to need to unpack. That being that of the domain, the range, and a function. So what I want to try and help us with today is understand just the definition of what domain and range in a function is. And I want us to be able to identify domain and range inside of a function. And also in the end, we'll ultimately want to figure out, can we figure out what a function is? Okay. So, let's jump right in here. There's some vocabulary that you want to get down onto your vocabulary sheet. So again, now would be a great time to pause the video and add these three words to our vocabulary sheet. I'm pausing. Did you see that? Anyway, so here's our domain, our range, and our function. I don't need to pause because when you pause the video, I'm not talking. So I don't know what I'm thinking. Domain, range, and function. Those are the three things we're looking at here. The domain and range have pretty straightforward definitions. The function is one that we're going to have to kind of talk about a little bit later. So the domain here is the set of inputs of a function. We also sometimes call that the x value, right? The x coordinate. Just to remind you guys, you remember your coordinate plane here. We have our x-axis and we have our y-axis, and then you got a point that's right there, and that point is an x value and a y value. The domain is all of the x values, and the range is the set of outputs of a function, also called the y, sometimes the dependent variable. And so that's the y value of all of these things. So that's domain and range. A function consists of domain and range, a set of domain, a set of range, and here's the weird part, a pairing of numbers so that each number in the domain has exactly one output in the range. And so that's what we kind of need to talk about. What the heck does that mean? And so we'll get to that one right towards the end of what we're talking about today. Okay, that's the end of the video. What does it mean to have a pairing of numbers so that each number in the domain has exactly one output in the range? That's where we're going. But the domain is all of your x's, your range is all of your y's. You can see that in a graph like this. You can also see it just in a table, right? If you have a table of values, these are x's and these are y's. All of these numbers over here, they're our domain. And all of these numbers over here, they are our range. When I say what is the domain, you're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4. And when I say what is the range, you're going to say 3, 4, 5, 6. It's just a list of all the numbers. Okay. So, example of domain and range. Let's say we have a situation, you go to a gas station, right? You've got your little car, and you're going to have to deal with me drawing, because I like to draw. Here's your car. It looks kind of like this. Right? Here's your car. And you're at the gas station, so you're filling up your gas, and that comes up to a machine. There's a lot more money than you think it should cost. You're filling up your car at the gas station, right? So let's just say we have a table of values that shows our input, which is the number of gallons that we're putting in our car, versus our output, which is the total cost, right? The cost of that. And somebody went out and did all of this here, and they found that when you have 10 gallons of gas, it costs you $19.99. And when you have 12 gallons of gas, you have $23.99. And when you have 13 gallons of gas, you have $25.99. And when you have 17 gallons of gas, you have $33.98, right? And I'm just going to ask the question, what is the domain and range, domain and range of this function? Well, the domain is all of our inputs. So if I wanted to make a list of the domain, I'm going to say it's just all of these numbers, and I'm going to write all these numbers out. I'm going to use this funny looking bracket. The funny looking bracket just kind of tells us that this is a set. This is a set of numbers, but that is my range. It's the set of numbers 10, or excuse me, sorry, this is my domain. It's the set of numbers 10, 12, 13, 17. My range, on the other hand, is all of my outputs. What do I get after I figure out how many gallons it is? Well, that's just that list of numbers. $19.99 and $23.99 and $25.99 and $33.98. So that's domain and range, right? It's fairly simple. Domain is the list of all of the inputs, and the range is the list of all of the outputs. The biggest thing that I see people do is they confuse them, right? Input, domain, output, the range. Input, domain, output, the range. Say that in your head. Don't say it out loud because then we'll laugh at you. Input, domain, output, range. Okay? Say that in your head 3 times. In your head 3 times. If you say it out loud, I'm going to laugh at you. Nobody likes to get laughed at, right? So, domain, input, range, output. All of my list of X values, inputs, all of my list of Y values, ranges. You just draw them out. And again, I use this funny looking bracket. It's a hump, a B, a hump. Okay? So the last thing